With competition that includes Samsung's Galaxy S3 and HTC's One X, LG is fighting an uphill battle. In fact, they all but snuck into the high-end smartphone market with the LG Optimus 4X HD. Its specs are quite impressive, but how does it stack up in real-world tests? Can this quad-core HD smartphone give Samsung and HTC a run for their money? Let's find out. The LG 4X is a powerhouse by every definition of the term. In case it wasn't clear enough, the 4X means it's got a quad-core CPU in it. The HD means it's got an HD display, as well as an HD camera. The CPU is an NVIDIA Tegra 3 Cortex-A9, clocked at 1.5 GHz, with ULP GeForce Video powering a 4.7-inch Type True HD IPS LCD capacitive touchscreen with 16 million colors. It's 720 by 1280 pixels, which gives it a pixel density of about 312 ppi. And all of that is tucked neatly behind a flat sheet of super strong Corning Gorilla Glass. Unlike Samsung that puts the antenna for their NFC chip in the battery, LG put their antenna in the back cover. And they threw in a couple NFC tags for you to get started playing around with some of the cool things that you can do with NFC. The battery is lithium ion with 2,150 milliamp hours of power, which in our tests was plenty enough to get you through an entire day with normal use. If you want to use this phone in the USA, AT&T is your provider of choice. It'll work on T-Mobile, but until they roll out more coverage, you'll be stuck with edge speeds. Voice, however, works equally great on either provider. So the specs are great, but how does all that hardware stack up? On the front of the screen, you've got what you'd expect. Your sensors, your speaker, your front-facing camera, very modest branding, and a plentiful screen. Down at the bottom, you have capacitive buttons. This is one thing we don't particularly like, but you can go in and tweak how long the backlighting stays behind the buttons. At the top of the phone, you have your noise-canceling microphone, your 3.55mm headset and headphone jack, and in HTC style, your power button. Over on the right, you have absolutely nothing. On the bottom, you've got your MHL and micro USB port all nice and tucked together, as well as your main microphone. On the left, you have a very basic up and down button, very smoothly integrated together. Flipping the phone over on the back, you've got your 8 megapixel camera with LED flash, again some subtle branding, and then your main speaker as well. The back is also very well textured, so it feels really good in hand. Something to look at while we're here is this double chrome ridge that wraps the entire phone. Doing this kind of gives the impression that you have a slide-out keyboard. You don't. But why would they include it? It actually helps significantly when you're holding on to the phone, which is something that you need because the phone is so lightweight. So how does the software and the user interface stack up? Although the 4X HD comes with Android Ice Cream Sandwich 4.0.3, the user interface is LG's own Optimus UI version 3.0. which looks very similar to Samsung's TouchWiz UI, and is much more colorful than stock Ice Cream Sandwich. The Optimus UI 3.0 comes with some of the stock widgets that you've seen in previous versions of the UI. The Yahoo Weather widget is the same boxy one without many refinements, although it is animated and it is somewhat pretty looking. It is resizable, as with most of the other widgets that come with it as well. The launcher itself is quite nice, coming preloaded with a lot of the apps and widgets that you're likely going to use already in place, where you're going to use them and make the best use of them. Launching the app drawer is relatively quick and has a universal wrap. So no matter which way you scroll, you're going to always be able to scroll and scroll and scroll. You'll notice one thing that's missing. You don't have a shortcut to the Play Store right up here in the top like you do with the stock Ice Cream Sandwich launcher. You do, however, have this interesting little sprocket icon, which essentially lets you go in and remove elements out of your app drawer, essentially just so you can organize. Hit the check mark when you're done to accept it. One thing that the LG has that most other phones don't is a voice recorder. Why phones don't include this is just beyond me. It's very simple, it's very basic, it does what you need it to do, it's right there, and it's elegant. I mean, just look at this. Video playback is where the HD in the Optimus 4X HD comes from. With out-of-the-box support for DivX and XVID, and MKV video files with resolutions up to 1080p, the results are nothing short of astounding. As long as your video source supports the higher resolutions, you're golden. Video playback is what the Optimus 4X HD was designed for, and it does it very, very well. So with 4 cores and an HD screen, can you possibly have good battery life in this phone? 2150 milliamp hours isn't a huge battery, but it's better than many. We might even go as far to say better than most. The battery is big enough to get you through your day without worries. I was able to get almost 2 light use days out of 1 charge, which really surprised me. It's worth noting that LG is using a new SiO Plus battery technology rather than the standard lithium-ion technology that we've seen in most other phones. Now, it's still a lithium-ion technology, but the SiO Plus tech allows for more lithium ions to be crammed into a smaller space, resulting in a smaller battery or longer battery life, however you want to look at it. How about the camera? How does that stack up? The rear-facing camera is an 8-megapixel shooter with autofocus and LED flash. Still shots were fair, though a bit saturated, and with a bit more lens flare than we've come to accept in most phones. The video recording capability of the Optimus comes set at 720p, though it's capable of 1080p. We ran it through our regular test in the front yard, paying attention to close-ups, detail, and color contrast. What we saw wasn't great. The autofocus on the camera is hyperactive, causing blurring every few seconds as the camera tries to refocus over and over. Comments on the YouTube video were brutal, with many thinking this was caused by a dirty lens. Rest assured, we cleaned the lens very well before shooting. Let's go through the pros and cons. Pros. The phone's got an above average battery life, especially considering that they didn't add any extra bulk. It's got a removable battery, something that we're seeing a lot of phones, especially the high-end phones, not have. It's very slim, very lightweight, maybe too lightweight. It's got Bluetooth 4, that's different than a lot of other devices. It already comes with Android 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich, so there's no waiting for someone like Samsung or a carrier to build and approve Android 4.0. You get it right out of the box. You can expand your storage with microSD, all the way up to an additional 32 gig. How about some cons? Autofocus on the video camera is out of control. This might be a deal breaker for a lot of you. The phone is almost too lightweight. Everybody that I gave it to thought that it was cheaper or not quite as high-end as it really is. And of course, if you're in the US and you've got T-Mobile, you've got to live with slower edge speeds. So overall, what did we think of the LG Optimus 4X HD? As far as hardware goes, it gets a 9. It's hard to get a 9 in my book. User experience suffered a little bit. We rated it a 7. A lot of that was because of, well, honestly, the camera. As far as software goes, we gave it a solid 8. The Optimus UI version 3 isn't quite as clean as stock Android, but it's probably the closest thing we've ever seen. Adding all those together, we give the Optimus 4X HD a solid 8. Well done, LG.